Welcome to another episode of Back on Track. I am your host, Brother Ghazi Muhammad. This is a podcast dedicated to sharing with our community, information and stories and experiences that are guaranteed to absolutely inspire, impact, and empower you. So today we have with us my big brother, very phenomenal human being, a brother that I've known for probably gotta say at least 25 years. I think we met in 1995, right after the march. And the brother's always been, stand-up brother, and he's been doing a lot of phenomenal things in the community. So let's get it on, man. It's my big brother, brother Salahuddin El Muhammad, also known as Ambassador Stacy Elliott. How you doing, big brother?
Man, I'm doing fine by the grace of Almighty God. How about you?
Man, I'm blessed, brother. I'm blessed, man. Too blessed to be stressed, bro.
I know that's right, brother. I know
Yes,
that.
sir. Yes, sir. Man, let's get into, man. Let's tell let's talk about you a little bit. I know people, so some people hitting me up like, man, Ezekiel Elliott father. People, I like, man, that's my people there, man. We go way back, family to me, man. But we're gonna talk about that later. Let's talk a little bit about you and your upbringing and some of your experiences.
Well, first and foremost, Brother Ghazi, thank you for inviting me on the show. And I'm a big fan of your show. And I'm also proud of you because, like you said, we've been knowing each other really a little over 25 years. I met you before the Million Man March.
Okay.
And I've watched you grow, and I've watched you handle obstacles that have been put in your path through and every transition you went through. Allah bless you to meet and overcome them obstacles.
Yes,
so I'm very proud of you, brother. I was born in Jersey City, New Jersey, and at a time, I don't have a problem with telling my age, but it was before Roe versus Wade, when women were committing abortion with hangers and things like that. And so because of that climate in America at the time, my mother, who had met my father, she was 16 years old, she had to give birth to me at a hospital in Jersey City for unwed mothers. America at that time in 1970 didn't welcome women, hospitals in particular, who were not married. Certain hospitals, people may not remember that or know that in America in the 70s, before Roe versus Wade in 1973, women who were not married, there were certain hospitals for women to give birth. And so I was born, and my mother, dealing with extenuating circumstances, put me up for adoption. And I was placed in the home of a wonderful, beautiful Jewish family, the Elliots, at 6 weeks. So from the time of birth to the time that I met the Elliots, for 6 weeks, I was in physical state custody of the state of New Jersey. I thank Almighty God for the Elliots. I thank Almighty God for my mother and my father who raised me in a very unique situation, being Black and being Jewish. I used to get all the Sammy Davis Black Jewish jokes growing up, and some of my friends who I grew up with, who happened to be Jewish but of the Caucasian race, would get that kind of tickled at a very young age. I don't even remember how old I was. I know I was young, probably about 5 or 6. My biological father, his mother and father, they found me. And so the Elliots allowed me to grow up in my biological father's family, and I grew up in the Elliott family. The unique situation about that is my father was a member of the Nation of Islam. And so my siblings who came from his wife and him were growing up in the Nation of Islam. Now it's the early 70s, and we know the history of the nation in 75, it took a new direction. Because, I'm very Jewish in my heart, but because of the difficulty I felt in practicing Judaism and being Black, I inclined towards Islam. I inclined towards Islam as taught by the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And so Allah blessed me with my family, my parents, the Elliots. They were wonderful people. They both have been deceased some years now. They were a lot older. They didn't have to take me into their home, but I thank Almighty God for them. And so because my parents were they were a lot older. My father was actually born in 1913. So I took advantage of them being older and ran the streets a lot by being reacquainted with an aspect of my biological family. I got a lot of cousins and they come from the hood. So I spent a lot of time in the hood with my cousins.
Right.
And, I grew up in the New York City area in a little bedroom community right outside 10 miles of New York City called Hackensack, New Jersey. And so so I grew up real fast in the streets of New Jersey and Harlem and New York City.
Yes, sir. Man, that's some interesting history, man. I'm quite sure a lot of people didn't know that. I mean, when you first shared that with me, I was shocked. I'm like, man, so you're Jewish, brother? I was shocked, when you shared that with me. And, that whole thing right there, because it's interesting coming up being adopted. That's a big thing, because one of the things that came up out of the Million Man March was the adoption of Black children who were caught up in the foster care system, And I know my wife and I, we've been foster parents for a few years. We got up out of it now, but we did do it for a few years. We fostered some children, and we weren't looking to go towards adoption, but that's a whole big area right there. So man, let's talk about okay, so you grew up in Jersey, New York area, and things like that, and at what point did you really start pushing the teachers at Elijah Muhammad, really getting into? Did you come through the 5%? I know the 5% nation was really big on the East Coast, or did you come straight to the Muhammad Mosque up under the minister?
So what happened when the Nation of Islam, I remember my father, my biological father, Salim Muhammad, who returned to Allah in 2003, who was a member of Mosque number 7. I remember being at his house and watching the transition. I didn't know what I was really looking at, but watching the transition of the Nation of Islam under the new leadership of Imam Warif Muhammad. Back in those days, during that transition, Orthodox Islam, as it is called, was introduced very strongly in New York City area. Well, it didn't really impress me, and many people my age, 50 and younger, during that era, we wasn't very attracted to wearing jalabiyas, gowns, and kufis, and things like that. And so as the Nation of Islam was going through transition, the 5% nation was becoming very strong among youth. In those days, because I was struggling to find my identity and in religion, in faith, the 5% nation had became very popular. So in those days, we used the language, the one who would birth you in the 5% nation is called your enlightener. My big cousin, Billy Hare, his sister's boyfriend at the time he became my enlightener. He birthed me into the nation, or birthed me into the 5% nation at 13. So I joined the 5% nation, and I was taken aback though, because coming from my Jewish background and my parents being very, from what I could see, righteous people, I couldn't understand how you could have this type of knowledge. And in them days, they would ask you, are you righteous? Which implying, are you in the 5% nation? And I didn't understand how you could be righteous and sell crack cocaine. I didn't understand how you could be righteous and involve yourself in illicit behavior. And so when I was 15 years old, I actually was still seeking, even as being a member of the 5% nation. My enlightener named me Supreme Being, Great God Allah. And so that was my name in the 5% nation. But 2 years later, someone who I was studying Islam with, my brother Sharif Salim, who actually my family took the name Salim from his family when the Imam took over. I was really kind of studying under him, and I was listening to Dr. York. Some know him as Malik.
Malachi, Dr. Malachi York.
Yeah. At the time, he had a strong community in Brooklyn, New York, and they were Muslim, and I had never heard nobody teach like that brother taught. I mean, he would teach in Arabic. But anyway, I was seeking. But Brother Sharif came to me with a tape cassette of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan had came to Madison Square Garden. At that time, I was so deep in the streets, calling myself a 5%er, but still seeking knowledge. I didn't even know the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan came to New York. I was familiar with him because I had seen him in a lecture that my other friend, childhood friend Ajuma, brother Ajuma, had showed me Savior's Day 81, and some of the things that I heard the minister saying in that lecture really confused me. So, but when I heard that lecture, Power at Last and Forever, and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan went into the lessons, the 5% lessons, I said to myself, this is the man I've been looking for all my life. And coming from that Judaic background, my parents, the Elliots, had ingrained in my mind to look for a man, to look for the Messiah.
Wow, that's powerful. So aside from like the religious aspect, just coming up in New York, as far as what was going on with you internally in terms of your development as a young Black man, your view of the world, how you seen the world, racism, white supremacy, what was going on the inside of your mind, your maturity, was you on drugs? Did you start hustling? What was going on the inside of you during that time?
So I come from a neighborhood and a time where we started real young. I started hustling in the streets when I was 12. I actually caught a gun case when I was 12. And so we matured really fast. And so my mentality was getting money, and my mentality was getting out of the condition that we were in. When crack cocaine hit New York in 1985 real hard, between 85 and 87, a lot of young people my age not only started selling crack, but they became addicted to it. One of the big arguments on the street was, if you smoke what we called a woola was a blunt rolled with marijuana laced with crack cocaine, that ain't smoking crack. But if you hit the glass, as we would say, D-I-C-K, the glass dick, that's smoking crack. And so if you listen to the Wu-Tang in that song called Cream, Cash Rules Everything Around You, it will give you a very clear description of what I was going through, my mentality, and people my age at that time. And because in that song, it starts talking about how we start smoking woolers or smoking crack cocaine. So a lot of young people my age, man, got tore up with that crack cocaine. But in our mind, you wasn't a crackhead because you was only using it through a blunt.
Right. Wow.
The mindset was get money, get out of New York, get out of our condition in Jersey, get money, get money, get money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, okay, so at some point, because I remember looking at some of your old photos, you was an athlete. So at some point you got into sports. I'm assuming you was in college. You went to college. So, you know, you come up in the streets, you know, you go through the transition, you on a spiritual journey, you know, you seeking, looking for somebody. At some point, you don't know who the hell you're looking for, but you know you're looking for somebody, you know. And then how did you go to school then? So to come from that life, that hustle life, at what point did you get into school and education? Did you get a scholarship, or did your Jewish family pay for the schooling? Like how did that happen?
So what happened was in 1986, when I was 16, I caught a secret indictment. It was the first time that concept secret indictment was ever used. At least I know in our community, in our neighborhood, in our hood, my whole neighborhood was rounded up early in the morning for selling drugs to undercover police, a sting that had been going on for months. And so when they rounded us all up and took us to juvenile, some of us went to juvenile, some of us went to adult county jail. I was one of the few people to get out within 2 days under the direction of the judge turning me over to my parents. When I came home, to be honest with you, Brother Ghazi, you know, my mentality was to get the drugs that the police didn't find and get rid of them, sell them. And I literally, that's what I did. The housing authority police, I'll never forget, rolled up on me because we were living in the projects downtown. And me and my cousins, they were with me, and I had these jumbos, we called them jumbos. It would be crack cocaine in these vials, and then the vials were different colors. And so I was just gonna sell the rest of my drugs and figure everything out after that. And the police rolled up on us while I was carrying this stuff. And the cop, you know, he had watched me grow up, one of them. He knew me, and he was a juvenile cop at one time too. So he watched me grow up, and he said, you know, Stacy, man, you got a lot of potential. I've been watching you. Why don't you join the football team or do something? So I had never played organized sports. I had never played football. But in my mind, I said, you know what? I caught this case. Maybe I'll join the football team and develop a good resume, and the judge won't, you know, they'll throw this out. That's how I'm thinking at the time.
Right.
So I go the next day, literally, to join the football team. And, you know, a lot of the players, the athletes on the team, some of them were my cousins, family. They knew me as a street person. So this was an opportunity for them to really hit me and do things to me that they couldn't do on the streets.
Right.
You know? And so first day of practice, Brother Ghazi, I tore it up. I ain't know what the hell I was doing, but the coach just told me, go tackle, get to that ball, go through this man, and I tore it up.
Right.
A few days later, the principal had put a word out that everybody who was arrested in that undercover sting had to be put out of high school until further notice. So my coach, Ralph Khalees, who I will forever be indebted to, he came to me and he said, Stacy, you know, I'm supposed to put you off the team and they're going to put you out of school, but I think everybody deserves a second chance. And so the rest was history. He didn't put me off the team. I wasn't put out of high school. I ended up taking my case to juvenile court trial and beating it. And this is my junior year. 2 years later, a year later, I'm one of the top recruits in the country.
Wow.
Getting recruited by colleges from all across America. And so I would eventually sign with the University of Missouri, Columbia on a full scholarship, a full ride. And I attended school there, played ball for 5 years. Tuition free.
Wow. Okay. And then what happened to that, you didn't go pro, or, did you finish the schooling? Did you drop out? What happened during that situation?
So one of the big things back in those days when you was a student athlete was flunking out. I was so afraid, Brother Ghazi, to flunk out because I knew what I was going to go back to, that I never flunked out. I ended up excelling on the football field at the University of Missouri, Columbia. I did 5 years. I majored in sociology, history, and community development. To be honest with you, I got 2 classes that I need to finish. I literally went through graduation, had my family come and everything, but I had took on the mentality of an athlete. And in them days, and they still kind of do it, but not as bad because they got more support. When you go pro, you just stop going to school. So I just blew off them classes because I was going to go pro. So I went pro, went into the draft. Brother Ghazi is one of the top recruits, prospects, NFL prospects. On draft day, I fell through the draft. On the second day of the draft, I fired my agent, got a new agent. He worked very, very hard to get me a free agent deal with a team, and I had an opportunity to do it, and I literally turned it down because my mind had shifted at that point back to the streets. Let me veggie back on something. From the time of graduation in high school or my junior year when I joined the football team, I also joined the Nation of Islam. So when I went to college to play football, I was a member of the Nation of Islam at that time. And so after some years in college, I just really kind of went back to what I knew best, the streets.
And then that put an end to your, so did you just leave school and say, I'm going back to the streets now?
Well, at the time, I had met a woman, my girlfriend at the time, whatever. She was going to school there at Missouri, Sister Dawn. And so when she graduated, after I didn't make it in the NFL, I just kind of left that alone and started doing something different. I just hung around in Columbia, Missouri, and waited for her to graduate.
Right. Okay. And then so that's a heck of a story right there. And I didn't know you and Dawn met up in UMSA. I mean at Mizzou, right?
Yes.
In Mizzou. And so so you and your girlfriend at that time, Dawn, y'all get together. But then eventually you all get married and you start having children and things like that. And you produce this little boy. You know what I'm saying? Is Ezekiel oldest boy?
He is
the only boy.
He's my oldest.
Yeah, that's your oldest boy. So, okay, so, talk about, because for everybody who's watching this, this is the father of Ezekiel Elliott, the star running back of the Dallas Cowboys. Very, very, very powerful young brother. How was it like training him, man? Like being a father. So your biological father came at a certain point. Your Jewish father was a good example for you. You got involved with the 5%ers and the nation at a young age. What gave you that example of being a father when you started having children?
Well, Mr. Elliott, my father, my adopted father, my father, he was a great example of a man. From uprightness, hard working, leading his family. So to be under him, it was a great example of a man. But so when I became a father, it was at a very critical time or transition in my life. I was transitioning from being Stacey Elliott, the football player, Stacey Elliott, or Supreme, the street guy again, getting myself together, getting back active in the Nation of Islam. And so it was like Mr. Elliott led me and passed the baton to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in being that great example of being a man, being a father. Me or Ezekiel's mother, we didn't know nothing about the quality and the importance of education, but it was through the teaching of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad under the guidance of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan that we learned the importance of education. And so we put Ezekiel first and foremost in Muhammad's Academy in St. Louis.
Right.
He went to Muhammad University of Islam in Houston, Texas. He went to Storman and Stufflin in St. Louis, another magnificent Black private school. We kept him in academic, challenging environments. And so that only could have been done by the example and the leadership of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Yeah, no doubt. And while we on that, I want to give a shout out, man, to Brother Ibrahim and Sister Janice of Muhammad Islamic Academy down in St. Louis. All of my grown children attended the Muhammad Islamic Academy when they was younger. All of them attended it at some point. And I know they were doing a phenomenal job taking, what literally had in creating giants, and it goes to show the way in the nation education is emphasized, how important it is. I remember that was the first time I was hearing that I am mathematics, I am physics, I am, everything, you would take on everything as there was a part of you because it is a part of you, rather than it was something disconnected from you, Okay, so I remember coming to your home when you all was over in Alton a few times, and I remember, watching Zeke, the Ezekiel with his little shoulder pads on and his little pads, and on his way to practice and things like that. And did you see back then that, like, man, did you have was it in your mind like, I'm gonna push my son to stardom, or was you just thinking like, it's something he's good at, it's an outlet, it's something positive that he can be a part of? Did you ever think, or at what point did you start thinking like, damn, this boy can really do something with this, like on a whole nother level? Because he didn't take it to a whole nother level now. It ain't just an outlet for the brother in the hood. He didn't take it to a whole nother level now. At what point did you start looking at sports and him like that?
Well, Brother Ghazi, as I said earlier, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he's taught us and instilled in us the value of education. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has also taught us the dangers of sport and play. And because I was an accomplished football player and his mother was an accomplished track athlete, we knew the dangers and the pitfall of wrapping your self-esteem around sport and play. Mm-hmm. So if you was to ask Ezekiel, he would tell you that I never talked to him about being a football player. But what I did constantly instill in him and talk to him about was being great in whatever you do and demanding excellence in whatever you do.
Wow.
So Ezekiel, from the moment he came out the womb, he's a special child. Like, he always went hard. He always goes hard at everything he do. The moment he came out the womb, I could see he was special. Sports was just a means of recreation and keeping him busy. Sports, and in particular him being drafted, or him going to The Ohio State University, or him being, as some sport writers say, the greatest football player to come out of St. Louis, any accolades that came along with that was just a bonus, because when everybody was upholding him in the sports world, we were behind the scenes pushing him to be great and demanding excellence in him through education. So my words to my son that I instilled in him was to just be great. And if you're not going to be great and you're not going to demand excellence on yourself, then don't do it. I'm not, we don't accept that.
Right.
You know, we would say average is not acceptable in this house. I don't even want to hear the word.
Wow. And you know what you're saying is so powerful, because many parents, we have in our mind, especially those who have not achieved their dreams and their goals in life, then what you see is often they try to relive their dream through their children. They want to shape them more. People who can sing, if they tell if they know their daughter can hit a tune or their son can hit a tune, they want to push them in show business. Or if they want to be a doctor, or they want to be an engineer, whatever they want to do, or just dreams in period. And we try to push our children in a certain point. So I love what you said about emphasizing excellence and greatness. And whatever you do, whatever you decide to do, be excellent at it and be great in it. So let me ask you, at the time when I met you back in the 90s, we was in the trenches in the community. We was on the battlefield, working with our young brothers, a lot of a lot of the violent, young black men in St. Louis. And I know that you was heavily involved with a lot of activities in the community. How did you balance that out? Because I know that work is very demanding. And I know with me, just growing up, being true to myself, it was a time where I may have, and I did, neglect, not intentionally, it wasn't intentional, but in my mind, I was so busy on my mission that I didn't do all that I could have done and should have done for my children, and even my, my ex-wife at the time. I didn't do, because I was so busy in the community. I'm working, I'm doing this. How did you find balance during that time to really, because you was one of among the most balanced ones among us that I knew, because you always did find some time to, spend time with Zeke, take him to a game, do this and that, when some of us were just crazy as hell and, to the extreme. How did you find that balance like that?
Well, Brother Ghazi, I laugh because, Sister Dawn may think Bear, she might argue with you on that one.
Right.
But needless to say, brother, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan had asked us the question many years ago: will you accept the mission? And he said, if you don't do it, somebody else will. So why don't you get the big name? Right. So brothers like myself and you and others, we were extreme. But the balance was in the home, because when you're a mission man, and that's all we was about, was the mission. I would not take a job that would get in the way of the mission. I would work jobs at 10 o'clock at night to 7 in the morning and get off, and with no sleep go and get on my post, the mission.
Right.
Help the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan save the black man and woman. And that created great pain. As you know, great pain in my marriage, great pain with my children. But the thing that I would try to do, and we were just talking about this, sometime I would take my children, Ezekiel and Layla, and we soldiered, brother. from early in the morning to the sunset, and sometimes we stayed out until the captain told us to get off the block when it was nighttime.
Right.
But sometimes, brother, I would take Ezekiel and Layla, and you know how our Muslim children, they love bean pie. And I would give them a bean pie, and I'm selling bean pies. And I would give them some money, and they associated the final call with money. But I had learned the principle from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the little charity that he would receive when he was the minister of Muhammad's Mosque, number 7. He would take some of that and give it to his children and say, this is from the Honorable Minister Louis. This is from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Why? Because he was burning in their heart the love for a man that he was sacrificing them for to help ease the pain.
Right.
So what I would do would take money that they saw me get from selling the final car. I would leave them sitting in the car, brother. If it was summertime, I turned the AC on. If it was wintertime, I turned the heat on. And I know that ain't the most proper thing to do, but we was extreme, brother.
Real talk. Right. And
but
man,
I would take some of that money, brother Ghazi, and as Ezekiel was eating his bean pie, I would give him some of that money and say, this is from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, because I was teaching and training him to love the man that you gotta share me with.
Wow. Yeah, that's powerful.
So also what I would do, because, you know, their mom would be hard on me now, brother. Okay, you doing this mosque meeting, you teaching, you better get up here and see your son. So what I would do, I'll drive him to the game, because remember one time the mosque meeting was at 2 o'clock. So his game might be 2:30 or something like that. I drive him to the game and I stay there and I make sure he see me, and then I'll leave. Or I'll come to the game, and another thing that I did to help, I would bring the brothers, like you came to my house and stuff. Because children, they study you.
Right.
Not only do they study their parents, they study who you associate with. Mm-hmm. And so I would bring the brothers to be with me. And so that kind of helped a lot. And then, it would help a lot if you see little Ezekiel, and even if you saw him now, he know who you are. It reminds him, but that helped ease the pain, brother.
Wow.
That also dad wasn't out there goofing, chasing women or chasing men or chasing whatever. That dad was about to work.
Right.
Saving our people.
Man. Brother, as you was talking, I was thinking about my children. Bless their heart. Because I remember them extreme days, man. When I went through that period of being a single dad, I just had my 3 sons and my daughter to myself. Man, many nights, boy, they slept in the back of the mosque. We get together. We up to 2 o'clock in the morning. Man, sometimes I'll be like, man, they ate late many days, and bless their heart, man. And I'm glad they still with me.
Brother Ghazi, Ezekiel used to say, Dad, not another meeting.
Right.
I'm bringing him to the meeting. His little sister, Layla, is in the basket. Then Allah blessed me with my daughter, Aliyah. She in the baby basket. So I got Ezekiel, I got Layla, and we at the meeting after the meeting.
Right.
And our day would start 5 in the morning. And then after the meeting, we still got to get back home, 30-minute drive, 40-minute drive, and have dinner, brother.
Right.
And sometimes stop at the supermarket, buy the dinner.
Right, real talk, man, real talk.
My budget was $20 a day at one point.
Right, yeah.
So I got to make that money selling them bean pies and that fruit.
So, let me ask you. So, I look at my life back in those days, and it was a beautiful time period in my life. I learned a lot of valuable lessons, but like all things, we do grow up and we start seeing things somewhat a little differently, and I remember when the thought was first put in my mind, I would listen to the minister once the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and he was sharing a story about his him being a father. And he was saying how when some of his children was younger, that he didn't go to their ball games and certain things that he didn't do because he was always in the mission. Like, I mean, he got 60 years in this thing, right? And but then he said something to the brother, to the men. He said, I sacrificed like that so that y'all won't have to. Damn it. He said, y'all go spend time with the children and with your wife. Don't be out, don't be so crazy like that. And some of us still crazy like that, right? No matter what religion or whatever organization, some of us just extreme like that. But that was a good example. When I first heard that, it really made me look at things a little differently and say, man. And I remember when I did started getting to the point where I took interest in some of the things my children was into, like my son Rockman was in the art, and my son Kafani was in the poetry, and I really started supporting it and trying to balance my life out. I got more joy about it at that time, because rather than telling me, because we do our children like this too much, just come on and do what I want to do, without really taking interest in what they like, what they love to do, and really encouraging that and supporting that. I was saying nothing crazy as hell, but I'm talking about some real stuff, but supporting them and encouraging them, and I just appreciate that growing process, But okay, so let me ask you. Okay, so Zeke, he grew up and he been in football like most of his life. I think he was born with a football in his hand or something, Because since he was a little boy, I always remember him with football since I can remember, And but so he in high school now. I know he was a star of Ohio State. I remember watching a lot of the games. I'm like, man, I know that boy since he was a little boy, and I didn't know how his career was gonna go more in, what his career into. But I was excited, and I ain't a sports person. And people ask me right now, what's your favorite team? Dallas Cowboy. And they say, I don't know nobody on the team but Ezekiel. That's real talk. I can't name nobody else on that team but Ezekiel Elliott. That's the only reason they're like, I know him. So that's my favorite team. Yeah, I know, because Zeke, right? And but he get in school and he in college now, things like that. Did you start, because now he come up to be a young man too now, he is a teenager, and like all teenagers, they start feeling themselves, and maybe sometimes they want to buck a little bit and be a little rebellious and things like that. How did you navigate that and keep them as focused as possible? Probably not 100%, but as focused as possible to at least he get to the point like where you at now. Like, what did you do?
Well, this is the thing, Brother Ghazi, that people have to understand. It can't start when they're in college. Teaching him to be focused started the moment he came out the womb.
Right.
Remember what I said earlier, we demanded excellence from him and for him to be great. To be excellent in something, to be great, you got to have focus. You have to have discipline. But for every level, there are new devils. At the Ohio State University, something happened that I didn't even know was going to happen. I had moved to Columbus, Ohio. We had made a decision, me and his mom, that I would come to Columbus, Ohio, because we didn't want Ezekiel to get lost in the sport and play world. Because he came from a Muslim background outside of sports, he was pretty sheltered. So my concern as a father was his instincts developed in him that every Black man or male needs to protect them from their enemies. And so I went to Columbus, Ohio with him. He at Columbus, at the Ohio State University, Brother Ghazi, became such a celebrity that I literally had to pay bodyguards to be with him when he was in college. I literally sometimes would have to get out my bed at 2, 3 in the morning because of some situation that my son was dealing with. The most dangerous place for my son while he was in college was on campus.
Wow.
Think that over, brother. At first, when I wanted to get him bodyguards, he was like, nah, Dad, I don't need that. Oh, you need that, bro. Because all this stuff that's happening, Man, if your mom have an idea this is going on, she's going to have a heart attack. And above all, I don't want you to get hurt. So that was a transition to see people flocking to Ezekiel like he's a god. But I remembered what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan on teaching about human potential and how he would talk about if Michael Jordan walked in the building or Michael Jackson walked in the building or someone great walked in the building, how people would deal with them. Well, that is the it phenomenon that Ezekiel started dealing with, but it was very strange. Not only did he started dealing with that, but his siblings started dealing with that. His parents started dealing with that. So now all of us through this transition is having to deal with a certain level of celebrity, a certain level of fame, and we ain't even got no money yet. So that transition was very dangerous, brother.
Man, so okay, and I'm glad you ended on with saying that because it's gonna go into lead me into the next question. So, you know, when money come around and money come up, the people you thought you knew, I mean, they start acting. You know, people acting. You know, back in the day we say, you know, people act strange for the change, right? And sometimes when money come around, or money come up, people you know, family members, friends, they start acting a little different. You know, they start seeing you a little different. They start demanding and expecting certain things, right? And oftentimes, you know, it creates rifts in relationships, right? So I remember when, you know, you had called me, like I don't know if it was, I don't know what time it was, but it was like after Zeke had signed his first deal. I don't know the language of that, but when he first got drafted with the Cowboys. And, you know, we talked about, you know, maybe some mentoring programs and things like that. And I was excited. I'm like, damn, that's because I know him, you know what I'm saying? And, but what challenges, you know, because now you all are thrown into this celebrity status now. What challenges come along with that? Because everybody want that status. Everybody want the money. Everybody want to be popular. Everybody want to be famous. But it's a hell of a responsibility to carry, though. Because your family and friends could expect and hope and want and this and that, and it can create some hell of a thing. You know, what challenges have you know, experienced on them levels? If
you know, Brother Ghazi, thank you for that question. And before I answer that, I want to say to my family that may be listening or watching, to my friends who may be listening or watching, to those brothers like us, Brother Ghazi, who knew me in the trenches. I want to apologize if, for whatever reason, you feel a certain way because of a certain expectation that you have for Brother Salahuddin. And maybe I didn't handle it right, or maybe you got a misconception. I apologize from the depths of my heart. But as I said earlier, every level, there are new devils. The rise of Ezekiel Elliott put me on levels that some talk about but know nothing about. When Ezekiel came out of college, I started a company called Fifth Down Management. Ezekiel in his draft class was one of, if not the one, most sought after athlete that anyone would want to sign. I sat down with Jay-Z for many hours. I went back and forth with Jay-Z and Rock Nation. They wanted to sign my son. I had created my own company, and I was looking at forging my company, representing my son in management and marketing. So I sat down with some of the biggest names in sports and entertainment because my son was the biggest name in sports at that moment. The trials that I have had to deal with because of the rise of Ezekiel money, because of celebrity, because of money. See, when Ezekiel was drafted April 28th, 2016, and he signed that $25 million contract with a $16.9 million signing bonus, Salahuddin didn't get drafted. Salahuddin didn't sign a contract and has $16 million sitting in his bank account. Some people get that twisted. So I remember one time, brother, one of my family members had questioned me about my lack of support for them financially. And I posed this question to him. I said, where did your daughter work? He said, Walmart. I said, cuz, when your daughter gets paid from Walmart, do I have any right to get anything from her paycheck? He said, no. So what gives you the right?
Right.
That you think you should receive some money from my son's paycheck, money I haven't even received. Now, I started my own company, Brother Ghazi, and my first client was Ezekiel Elliott. And my first client, Ezekiel Elliott, was the most marketable player in that draft. Before he was drafted, I had negotiated millions of dollars in contracts. So I'm earning my own money. You understand, Brother Ghazi? Right. I'm working for my son. Right. It's my company. My son ain't breaking me off. First of all, you know, as men, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us, no man begs another man. Right. You know, we taught to do for self. Now, I ain't crazy. I drove my son to college in a hoopty. We ain't gonna leave the Ohio State and you in a Bentley and I'm still in a hoopty. Now, I ain't crazy.
Right.
But I'm still a man, though.
Right.
And I taught him to be a man. So I ain't around here, oh, can I get a stipend? Nah, you gave me another platform to make money.
Wow. So
that's been very challenging. And then another challenge that we've dealt with is the excitement. Oh, I know Ezekiel Elliott. Like, bro, Ghazi, you watch Ezekiel Elliott grow up. But even I have to stand back and let his security handle their business. That was a transition for me. I got him security in college. That's different. I got it. Now he goes pro. I got to let his security be his security. So some of the weirdest feelings is my son come out, he with his security, and people tapping me or tapping his mom or his siblings wanting to talk to him, and I got to mind my own business. You see what I'm saying? That's a transition. It's a transition seeing your child on TV, learning things about him that you ain't even heard about yet.
Right.
People be like, this is another trial. Man, you talk to your son every day? I sure don't. He's a typical child.
Right.
Anybody that's listening, if you're a father,
you already know.
Don't talk to our children every day, our sons in particular, because they don't want to talk to us every day. Because every time they talk to us, they thinking, did I do something wrong? It don't change because you're a multimillionaire. I'm still Abu. I'm still the father.
Right.
Plus, Ezekiel's personality is he's never been very talkative with me outside of when he needed something or something was going on. But that's kind of typical, I think, with children, you know. But because it's Ezekiel Elliott, and then one of the things, Brother Ghazi, another challenging thing is, even though you may have watched Ezekiel grow up, I'm not going to just pick the phone up. If you ask me and call him, here go Brother Ghazi. Like he gets browbeated with so much that his immediate family, we got to be as natural as we have always been. Remember, we never talked about sports with him. We never talked about you going to be a pro athlete and all that. So why would we start talking about that now?
Right.
It's everybody else is. So it would be very strange. But I do mean that from the depths of my heart, because I have lost some friends. and I've pissed off some family members. And a lot of new people try to become your friend, you know, and it gets strange at times. But, you know, I'm learning to I accepted the responsibility. Being Ezekiel's father and being at The Ohio State University, I had become Urban Meyer, one of the best coaches in the history of college football, special assistant, which made me very popular in the sports world. And so wherever I travel around the country, you know, people recognize me. I've been on ESPN several times. I mean, and so I take this platform very serious. And just as when we was in the trenches, Brother Ghazi, trying to save people and help people, I'm still trying to do the same thing on another level.
Yeah, man, that's absolutely beautiful, brother. That's powerful. And I really love how you express that in terms of allowing our children to be themselves, and that's to act natural, because I don't know what it's like to be on their level of celebrity. And but I can imagine, just on a small level, I know that when you're getting all this attention on this level, when you go home, you want to kick your shoes back. I mean, you want to kick, man. You ain't got time for all that. You want to have some degree of normality at that point. I want to be a normal person, you know. And I remember listening to one of the I don't know what comedian, one of them, it was Steve Harvey, one of them brothers who were comedian, and they were saying that once they got to a certain point, that they couldn't even go out and eat dinner with their wife, without people. Can I get your autograph? Can I get this, that? And it's like, it gets tired of, some of us want that, or we think we want that. You know what I'm saying? But we don't know all the hell and the stress that comes along with that right there.
That's what we go through, brother. My son can't go nowhere in America. And when we together, listen, this past week, we went to Dallas. It's the first time in 5 years that I was in the presence of my son with no extra people. Wow. Now listen, Ezekiel can't go in the airport. He can't go in restaurants without people wanting pictures. Brother Ghazi, I didn't take one picture with my son. Like, I don't want to be, like you said, he already experiences all of that. And his closest family members outside of his siblings is his cousins and family that just act regular. Now, who, if you're a Dallas Cowboy fan or Ezekiel Elliott fan, would spend 4 days, 5 days with him and not take one picture? Right. I ain't post nothing on social media about me being in Dallas, being with my son, because, it goes back to, man, this is my son. And I don't want him to feel like, damn, even dad is an idol worshiper? No, I'm not even a fan in the sense of being fanatical. Right. I'm your father.
Yeah.
That's what I am.
Yeah. Man, that's beautiful, man. And again, it brings me back to another, experience that I heard the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan share about, his life dealing with, one of his sons. That it was a certain point in his life where one of his sons messed up in high school, and because he was the minister said he came down hard on his son, and didn't let him graduate with his class, and he came down extra hard on him, because of the position that he was in, and because at that time the minister was like a celebrity, always, especially in New York, everybody knew the minister in New York, right? And but he said that when he looked back on that, he understand that at that point, his son didn't need a minister. His son needed a father, and sometimes we get it, misconstrued. So Zeke don't need Stacey Elliott, the damn manager. Man, sometimes I'm gonna go through some shit, Pops, that I need my Pops, man. I need to talk some real talk. It's some stuff going on in my head, and the manager can't address that. It gotta be somebody with a certain kind of heart of love that feel a certain kind of way, to see you in a certain way, to come in and break through all the madness that's around you, that gonna come around you, that's trying to come around you, it's a certain spirit we got to have. So that's powerful, bro.
Well, because of the life of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, many of the mistakes that he made, he taught me not to do that. Now, one of the trials that these young men are faced with, Ezekiel was drafted and became a multimillionaire at 20 years old. We got to ask ourselves a question. What was our mindset at 20 years old?
Crazy as hell. Right.
What were we doing at 20 years old?
Right.
How much money did we have in our bank account? What access did we have in this world at 20 years old? So these young men get this money when they're going through transition from a boy to a man. When all of us have went through transition, in particular, boy to man, girl to woman, we start, as we say, feeling ourselves. Through that transition, we often bump heads with our parents, but we don't often bump head with our parents with $16 million in our bank account.
Right.
So in my son's transition, in my family's transition from poverty to some wealth or money, from being unknown to being known throughout the country, that transition opened up the door for new devils to come in the midst, and also opened up the door for some of us to make decisions only by the mercy of Almighty God. Allah did not create a situation that would cause us never to come back to the point or move forward to where God wanted us to be. When a boy is becoming a man, if he has a father, they're going to bump heads. And we bumped heads. I went to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and I talked with him. And I said, "Dear Holy Apostle," and before I could finish, he said, "Oh, brother, I'm just your brother." The Honorable Louis Farrakhan is so humble.
Yes, sir. I bear witness, boy.
And I started sharing with him what was going on. And he said, "Brother, don't worry about Ezekiel. Allah has him." He said, "Leave him alone." He said, "Allah has him. And when you see him, tell him I said, go to your brothers, strengthen them," meaning the brothers in the NFL, "and y'all rebuild the wasted cities where our people are at."
Wow.
But he told me, leave him alone. Allah has him.
Yeah, that's powerful. And only the words of the minister, definitely penetrating, man. So we definitely feel that. Man, so what kind of advice would you give to parents out here who, we raising our children and they may have certain gifts and skills and talents? What kind of advice would you give to parents in terms of, cultivating that and being there, supporting their children, and, how you say, you all emphasize excellence and greatness. So what would you tell parents, coming up these days? Because we all want to, hope that our children make an impact in the world, that, they do something significant and make something out of themselves. Some of us, we content with, as long as you didn't get locked up or on dope, I'm cool with that, but some people have greater aspirations, for their children. But, what would you say, bro?
Well,
all right, he said excellence. Let it go.
First and foremost, brother, the journey starts in the womb. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has taught us how to give birth to a God, and he's taught us the process, man and woman, that we play in that process. So first, I want to answer that question, address that question. for those parents who are married, who are with the father of their child. Brothers, the moment you know that she is pregnant, life starts forming. Ears start forming. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has pointed out to us that sound travels on water. And so the moment your child come into the existence in the womb, when you know that the presence of life is in the womb, you start talking to that child. In my case, I talked to Ezekiel as he formed in the womb, and I also allowed him to hear the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the man who I had sacrificed, given up my life and my desires to help him. And as he was forming in the womb, I worked my best to keep the one who was carrying him at peace as that new life was being made. And once the child, Ezekiel, came out of the womb, I continued to talk to him. But by the time Ezekiel came out the womb, Brother Ghazi, he knew my voice because I had been talking to him from the moment or before I even knew the ears were formed in the womb. The moment he could understand language, you got to teach your children to be great. Your son might not want to play football. Your son might not want to run track. Your daughter might not want to play basketball. She may not want to be a cheerleader. But in the nature of your child, she's going to want to do something. So whatever your child does, demand in them to be great, to demand excellence. What I would say to a parent, mother and father, you got to be on the same page. And even if you're not on the same page, never allow your children to see that. Do your best to hide that. Because in the self-esteem of our children, as they're being developed, a lot of what is going through their mind is really based on what they see. They don't even understand language. But you know, Brother Ghazi, even working with the youth in the street, they say, I can feel you. They don't know what you said. Well, that's what children are. So I say to parents, take education also serious. Now, I'm not talking about education in the sense that, you know, be all you think you can be in an educational system that was declining. But the early years of your child's life, you gotta put them in a demanding educational environment. When Ezekiel was in the 4th grade, he was reading on 6th grade reading level. By the time Ezekiel finished high school, he had 8 years of Latin under his belt. Well, I didn't know nothing about finding that type of environment for Ezekiel until the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan taught me. So if you're a single mom, it don't stop. You demand excellence in your children, and you strive every day to be positive. I was always positive, but I was also hard on Ezekiel because I knew as a young black man or a black man, this world ain't gonna be easy on you. But I never, and you should never accept mediocrity from your children in nothing. That's the advice I would give you. Even if you're a single mother, so what? Your blessing may be in your children.
Wow.
You know, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said them days when we were super extreme, you know, because we heard him say, forsake the family and don't worry about your family, Allah got them, right?
All right.
But we didn't pay attention to the other part that you say about sharing with us the mistakes he made. So we didn't balance that out.
Right.
Single parent, mother, father, whatever. Allah bless you through your children. It was times, man, we didn't even have gas money, brother. I didn't even know. I'm going to a meeting and I don't even got enough gas.
Wow.
I'm a hoopologist. You ask me about a hoopty, I can tell you about it, brother.
Right.
Listen to a hoopty run.
Right.
Oh, brother, no, that's the alternator. You don't know what a hoopty is. I'm talking about a all ran down car.
Yeah, real talk. Man, I'm gonna tell you, when you talking about demanding excellence, so when coming up, when I got into a lot of trouble in St. Louis and got kicked out of all the schools, I had to go to school in East St. Louis, when I met my father. And when I went to school in East St. Louis, that was a hell of a school system right there. School district 189. It was a cold, it was like some lean on me stuff, man. We needed Joe Clark, man. We needed Batman up in that, man, because the school was literally just like that, very unorganized. And I remember going into the classroom, and most of the classroom, I mean, we young, we smoke weed in the class, we shoot dice in the class, mess with the girls, and we do all we want to do. And some of us, because the school was right down the street from the projects in East St. Louis, right? Catch a leave, and they go to the projects, come back with some chicken and macaroni and cheese, and I mean, doing school hour, we eating chicken like right in the classroom. Most of them didn't say nothing. But man, you know what? It's this one teacher that I straight never ever forgot in my life, Miss Reese. She was in East St. Louis, man. She taught English. Miss Reese is one of them old. She wasn't old. She one of them black women had Southern values, right? And like Big Mama and them. I'm talking about every other classroom, we act crazy as hell. We were straight up savages. In Miss Reese's class, no sir. Boy, if your pants say you pull them up, take the head off your head and everything. But one thing, because Miss Reese's expectation of us was, she used to say stuff like this. Everybody else say y'all some damn savages, but y'all ain't no savages. She would say, y'all come from a great history of people. And she would say that kind of stuff. And we buck wild like Miss Reese tripping, right? But because her expectation of us was so high, when we got to her class, if I didn't do nobody else's homework, damn it, I did Miss Reese's homework. If I didn't learn nothing else from East St. Louis School District to this day, I know about onomatopoeias, metaphors, similes, adverbs, adjectives, pronoun, prepositional phrases. I learned all that literally from Miss Reese because her expectation was so high. And what that taught me when I look back on that experience, where every other teacher looked at us like they some thugs and they mama's crackheads, they don't know their daddies. They looked at us like that. Well, she looked at us and seen something different. And because she seen something different in us, we rose up to her expectation and we started doing. So a lot of us out here, we expecting our young people to be thugs, to be hoodlums, to be gangsters and all that kind of stuff. So since we expect that, some of us even say that. Some of us crazy as hell, and we even laugh at that. I know you've seen some of them parents and videos where they gave the little baby some juice with some Hennessy in it, and the baby drunk as hell, and the mama and them laughing and crazy. That's the insanity part of our community, right? But it goes on. I've seen it. I've experienced it, witnessed it, and everything, right? But that expectation is important, man. To all parents out there, expect and demand excellence, not only of your children, but of any children that you encounter. Expect excellence and greatness and put it in them. All our young people don't accept mediocrity.
Brother Ghazi, if I may share a quick story about a trial that in transition when Ezekiel was in college, from being unknown to being he needs security. It was his sophomore year. Ezekiel did 3 years and he left college, went in the draft. All his life, we demanded excellence in the classroom. And our expectation for Ezekiel was he was going to go to the Fisher School of Business at The Ohio State University, which is one of the best business schools in America. And you have to have a 3.0 or better to even be considered to get in that school. During the recruiting process, one of the things that Coach Urban Meyer gave me his word on, that he would never allow my son to take classes just to stay eligible and play football, and that he would support what me and his mom raised him to be great, to demand excellence in your life. Because some of these coaches don't give a damn, brother. Right. Straight up.
Yeah.
Ezekiel's sophomore year, he got a 3.2 GPA. You can only apply to get into business school your second year in college. Ezekiel wasn't going to study hall. Now, from Ezekiel's vantage point, why do I need to go to study hall when I got a 3.0 or better, 3.2? But because he was breaking that rule, I'll never forget, it was like a Tuesday or a Wednesday. Coach Meyer called me on a three-way with Ezekiel's position coach, Coach Stan Drayton. And he's like, hey, look, our boy ain't following the rules. He hasn't been attending study group. Study group, but study hall.
All right, there.
Yeah. Well, then Coach Meyer goes on and says, I think we should bench him. Whoa, wait a minute now. Now I'm trial because here's Ezekiel Elliott. He's the starter now. And Coach, you saying maybe we should bench him after all we went through in the recruiting process where I'm like, don't play with my son. I ain't here to just play no football. So now Coach is living up to his word like, well, he ain't going to study hall, and so he ain't following the rules. We're going to bench him. And before he could finish, I said, yeah, let's do it. But when the words came out my mouth, a thought came up in my head. I was like, man, I done let my son down. He got a 3.2, 3.3 GPA. He don't really bench him. So we were playing at the University of Illinois, and Ezekiel got benched. And what crazy about it was reporters during the beginning of the game was texting me, asking me, why is Ezekiel not starting? One of our friends from St. Louis who was attending the game in Columbus got so mad when I told him why Ezekiel didn't start, he left the game, brother. But at the end of the game, Brother Ghazi, his coach, Stan Drayton, said to me, Ezekiel has arrived. I'm so proud of him. And I said, well, why? He said, when he got benched, he supported and celebrated the guy who started in front of him.
Wow.
So what we was working on and stealing him and being selfless, it came out in that situation. Ezekiel came to my house that Sunday after that Saturday, and I knew he was upset. And I knew that he knew that he couldn't have got benched in that circumstance without my approval. And before he could say something, I said, son, this is your lot in life. We raised you to be great and to demand excellence on yourself. I know you got a 3.2 GPA, and I know you got what you need to get into the Fisher School of Business, but we don't accept average, son. And that was it.
Wow. That's powerful, man.
And he went away. Yeah. He was hurt, brother.
Yeah.
And I was hurting too. So my point is, sometimes parents, you're going to be tried even in the journey of what you preach. Because that was a trial for me. Because I felt like I let Ezekiel down. I had to say to how I raised him, you ain't no damn football player. You way more than a football player.
Yes, sir. Man, brother, we appreciate you, man, sharing them stories, man. You know, a lot of parental advice, you know, for those who listening, you have children, you know, let's do our due diligence when it comes to our children. You know, let's demand excellence. Let's try to be as balanced as possible. And then let us continue to grow so we can be better examples. You know, we ain't reached no plateau, no matter how much success we've had in life. We ain't arrived. so we can all work on ourselves to improve the quality of our life, improve where we at, so that we can be better example to our children. And man, I appreciate you, big brother. Taking time out, man, coming on the show, man. You dropped a lot of good, valuable nuggets, man. I'm quite sure people are gonna get a lot up out of this.
Well, praise be to Allah, brother. I'm so honored to be able to share with you and your listening audience just some principles and some things that maybe we could use in our daily life, that you could use in your daily life as we are on this journey in life. And you hit it on the head, and I think it was the best thing to close out on, even as parents. We got to keep developing ourselves and being the best example that we can. And on that note, I go to my son's games so he can see me.
All right. Yeah. Pops up there. Yeah. That's real talk. Hey, man, we appreciate you, brother. Love you, man. You already know, man. You fam for life, dude. And I'm looking forward, man, to coming and visit your land out there in Ohio. Not where I snow though, man. I've been in Arizona. I've been spoiled a little bit, with the heat. So I ain't trying to see no snow right now.
Praise to Allah. Yeah, we got to get you and your family out here and ride some horses. And
yes, sir.
Enjoy the Elliott compound.
Absolutely, man. We got it. But man, we love you and thank you all for listening. Share this. Share this video. He dropped a lot of good nuggets. For parents. For people who had that mindset just to demand excellence of our children. Share this video, and we love y'all. We appreciate all y'all who took time to watch this. And man, appreciate you once again, big brother. And salam alaikum. May Allah bless you and your family and continue to guide Zeke, man, to even rise to even higher heights.
Thank you, brother, for your kind words. And may Allah do the same for you and your family.
Yes, sir. Thank you, big brother. You all have a blessed one.
You too.